Hello, my name is Joseph Wilkins, and I'm posting this video to voice my opinion and share with you an experience that I had this year that has really taken me down the rabbit hole. Something I never expected actually could happen. So, a little bit about me: I've worked out my whole life. The martial arts. I don't drink, I don't smoke cigarettes, take drugs, any of that business. About 3 months ago, I woke up in very much pain. I went from athlete to invalid literally overnight. I got up, didn't understand. I mean, this was a sucker punch like you wouldn't believe. I couldn't understand what in the world. But then pretty soon I thought about a year previous, helping my sister-in-law up off the floor. I got a compression fracture of L3 and L4 after a lifetime of telling people to lift with your legs, not your back. Well, so I thought, maybe I'd had one of that was happening again. So I figured, well, the first time it happened, they just gave me some tramadols and I just waited it out and it healed and I got better. So I thought maybe I'll just wait because there's really nothing I don't think they can do about this. So 3 weeks later, I'm still in pain. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I'm losing weight like crazy. Not thirsty, dehydrated, getting a little psychotic from the lack of sleep. So I went to the emergency room. I guess I should have done that sooner. And they told me that I indeed did not have a compression fracture, that I needed to go see an orthopedic surgeon, which I had what's called an emergency room referral. So I go to the doctor, and I'm using a walker. Can you believe this? A walker. And every step is painful. But I think, well, I'll get there, and then perhaps I'll find a better explanation of my situation. So I'm sitting there, and here comes the doctor. First thing I noticed, he acted like he was in a hurry. And I said, well, doctor, what's going on with me? And he said, well, I can't help you. He said, you got a serious arthritic condition of the spine. I can't help you. Basically saying you can't be helped. Of course, that's equal to like a voodoo curse if you believe this idiot. Didn't show me an x-ray. Really didn't explain the prognosis. All he did say, when I asked him about tramadol, because today I was hurting worse than before, he says, well, we don't give narcotics for that. Now, the lawyers would tell you I'm under diminished capacity. I'm really struggling trying to understand what's being said to me. I'm in pretty bad shape at the time. I'm thinking, did he just say that they don't use narcotics for pain? Well, what do? Pass out fifths of liquor? It just didn't make any sense to me. And I said, well, what's the difference between now and when I was first here and got the tramadol for pain management? He said, well, you had a broken bone. I said, what? A broken bone? What difference does it make where my pain is originating from? And he goes, well, we're not going to help you there either. So what I'm hearing is, Joe, if you came here looking for a compassionate physician, a medical practice that would support you, help you manage your pain, try to give you an optimum result for you, well, you can forget that. You ain't gonna find that here. Matter of fact, we don't even want to see you again. All of a sudden, you can really start to smell the stench of some governmental ideology or whatever their influence is. It's never good, and politically correct is never correct, if you've noticed. I said, the only way this doctor could be so heartless and so sold out is somebody is threatening his rice bowl. I mean, I had one physician, the second one I went to, and that's even a better story. How could I put this? Only to lose his humanity, to lose his The major edict of the doctors, do no harm, sending me home in pain was not doing me harm. So I knew right then and there. And I had another doctor tell me that every pain prescription that he writes is scrutinized by a bunch of cops, the DEA and people of that nature. Where they got their medical degrees, I don't know. But I knew anything that was that stupid and that heartless had to be ideology. When things become an ideology, facts don't matter, like religion or whatever. Once somebody believes something and that becomes part of their belief system, then that cognitive dissonance sets in, right? You offhandedly will reject any information that's not within your present belief system or past experience, Most people, I think, run their life with, don't confuse me with the facts, my mind's made up. So now I'm in a heck of a position. I'm on my own. I've actually been refused treatment from this medical practice. And I'm a rough and tumble guy. But when I got to the parking lot, I had an emotional breakdown. I mean, this guy just told me that, my life was over. My martial arts was over. I lost my job over this, and on and on and on. So, but then I came to my senses and thought, well, this guy's an idiot. Okay, he just sold out and just put the experience with this guy in my past. But the crazy part of it was, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? I'm a sales guy. I've studied medicine for a very long time, and I find it all very fascinating. But at this particular junction, I said, I'm left here with epipogenics, get my lower 3 chakras moving and all that and try to self-heal, which I have great faith in. Way to go, Joe Dispenza. So I started calling friends of mine. And I would say to them, you wouldn't happen to have any pain medication there, would you? Can you imagine how ludicrous this position I was put in? Finally, someone said, yeah, we got some. So I got that, and I took a pill. At that time, I'd been in real bad pain for about a month. And it was, when you have all those, the lack of sleep and nutrition and dehydrated, that leads to a lot worse things, perhaps. I took one pain pill and slept for 16 hours. Now, how fatigued was I? 16 hours later, I wake up, and the pain pills, lucky for me, lasted as long as the pain did, because the pain started to go down. But without those pain pills, the quality of my life would have had nothing. At least with the pain pills, I could get down the stairs and fix myself some breakfast and so forth. And I just curse the societal norm that gives one person that kind of power over me, right? I'll get to that in a minute. So I go to another doctor, hoping maybe they're not all sold out. I tell the physician what I just told you, and guess what he says? Boy, I wish you hadn't told me that, man. I can't treat you now. You just confessed to taking illegal drugs. I said, what choice did you leave me? Was I really supposed to sign off on that idiot's prescription for me? Well, Joe, now that I've met you, more pain for you. It's good for your character. Sleep, forget about sleep. And the lack of appetite, I hear fasting's good for you. Fasting's good for you. You should try to drink some water. But the bottom line is here, bud, I don't give a shit. Okay? I don't care how much pain you're in. I don't care how this has disrupted your life. I have no compassion for you. All I have is acquiescence to the boot that's on my neck here, telling me what to do. Something is horribly wrong. That's why this video is called "The Innocent Victims of the Opioid Crisis," because there's I guess there's millions of them. I think to myself, as this doctor's ranting and raving about how I should have never got pain pills from a non-legitimate source, how dangerous it was, And I'm thinking, does this guy actually smell what he's shoveling? I'm going to go home and spend more time in pain and risk my life because that idiot doctor thinks that's the right idea. And as far as doctors are concerned, John Hopkins said that they're the third leading cause of death in the country. Their drugs kill about 103,000. These are pharmaceutical drugs taken as prescribed by the attending. People die. A quarter of a million have died through medical mistake. Bed sores killed 110,000. Unnecessary surgeries. I mean, the list is absolutely horrendous. Some people have called it the medical holocaust. I think the iatrogenic was IATROGENIC. It means death by physician's mistake. It was over 500,000 people last year. And in light of that information, this idiot is worried about giving me a tramadol, which is really a baby aspirin in the narcotics world. So now I've been to 2 physicians. Both of them have refused to even try to help me. This is when you get to a position where facts don't matter. The only way to deal with a fellow human being is through compassion, understanding, love of the individual position in this world. We're all, together here. So if I look at you, especially as a physician, and compassion for you is not forefront in my mind, my patient's best interest, not mine. My patient's best interest. Well, that's gone. That has been sacrificed for this idiot way of thinking. As I was searching for the analgesics, I kept hearing these stories that were just incredible. One fella has a congestive heart failure, a friend of my brother's. 50% of his heart no longer really functions. He has about 8 months to live, but he's also in extreme pain. They had him on 20 milligrams of oxycodone, hydrocodone every 4 hours. Oh man, that put the normal person in a coma. And all of a sudden, when he had his prescription refilled, it was half that. Now, they're saying that the original prescription the physician gave him was an error. If that wasn't true, then what changed? Was the guy who wrote the prescription wrong? Have anything changed with David? No. They said it would reduce his chance of addiction. He's got about 6 months to live. It's the same lunacy I heard years ago when my sister-in-law, wonderful woman named Alice, dying of ovarian cancer. They said the reason they couldn't put her totally out of pain is because the addiction quality of the medication. When you run into something, it's almost, these people have a look in their eye like this, the same look that people had years ago used to sell you books at the airport and, no hair on their head and all that. It's that zombie look. It's that, I'm not making any sense and I'm okay with it, right? And where do you go from that? A friend of mine in Myrtle Beach, TC, horrible stomach pain from some ulcer that was hiding down his duodenal or somewhere, but it was really disrupting his life in a major way. He would literally lay on his bed for hours at a time and try not to move. Once he reported these symptoms to his physician, he said, "I'm sorry, man, I can't give you any pain pills." And TC says, "Why not? I'm an almost 70-year-old man." You think now I'm going to, find narcotics for recreation? It's incredibly stupid. And there were just, I heard so many of these type of things. TC's buddy got in a horrible car wreck in intensive care for 3 or 4 weeks. He comes out of a coma complaining about pain. The real thing you should do is what's called a morphine drip. He hits a button gets him out of pain for, at least he doesn't have to fight the pain of his injuries, he just has to suffer the injury. They give him a 5 milligram oxycodone. Man, what genius came up with that? Right? So I have never been a fan of the drug war, okay? Because all these, when you have the drug war, it metastasizes insidiously into almost every aspect of our culture. I've seen numbers that 1.22% of the world's population use opioids. The World Health Organization said there's 270 million drug users in the world, but only 10% they think are problematic. I heard the number 9.4% of the American population uses some kind of illegal drug. The idea is most of them are pot smokers, right? So whoever these hardcore drug users are, they represent a small amount of our population. When you think of 20,000 overdoses a year, these are Americans. I actually had a physician say this to me, and I couldn't believe it. He said, the only problem with the overdoses is they have Narcan. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, back in the old days, when those people died, you know, no one could bring them back, and we had one less heroin addict in the world. I said, well, why don't we just take them all to the ball field and execute them? He goes, well, that's an idea. Yeah, a lot of compassion in that, right? I never understood, and never will, the logic. Well, I'll give you an idea. A friend of mine was an alcoholic, horrible alcoholic. He'd call me up sometimes, and he'd want me to take him to the hospital because he was just having such a horrible time. So I called AA, and I happen to live in Akron, so AA, birthplace of AA, what a great bunch of guys they are. So I called up the AA, and they come out, and they took him away and helped him. Did it ever cross my mind to call the police? You know what? I think you ought to come out and handcuff Bob here and drag him into jail and throw him in with a bunch of criminals. Do you hear me? What's the difference between heroin and alcohol? They're both drugs. So you better pick your drug carefully. Now, if you want to smoke cigarettes and cough yourself to death, it kills 500,000 Americans and 5 million people worldwide. Man, that's fine, you know. Have a Marlboro. The drug war. Okay, that's better. The drug war is more or less a new idea. In the 30s, you know, these drugs, you know, you could buy laudanum, morphine, heroin, anything you wanted at the drugstore. The Marijuana Tax Stamp Act of 1937, for example, was never meant to make drugs illegal, but like any government bureaucracy, their main purpose is to get more power and get bigger. In this case, what went to have a tax stamp for marijuana turned into an outright prohibition of it. Harry Arnslinger, a gentleman who was the head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, the precursor of the DEA today, held a federal police post longer than anybody in history except J. Edgar Hoover. And this guy's an idiot. I mean, this guy's ignorance was awe-inspiring. He believed, and literally, if you smoked a marijuana cigarette, a joint, you go home and strangle your mother. Can you imagine this? But the real thing was, it was based in racism, because they thought if jazz singers who were smoking the pot at the time would give the white girls the weed and, you know, the paranoia, yeah, that's a good factual basis to lock someone up for the rest of their life. The penalties for marijuana at one time were unbelievable. In Arizona, It was like 20 years for a joint and life if you sold a joint. And the American people saw it, yeah, and they put up a big sign telling you that. If we ever wanted to know that the drug war was an absolute brainless, heartless, I don't have words to denigrate it as much as I'd like, was the alcohol prohibition. How did we not learn from the Volstead Act and the years that we spent bootlegging and criminal organizations and gunfire and drive-by shootings and bombings and God Almighty, turned Chicago into a free fire zone. We didn't learn a thing. You know why? Because facts don't matter. There's certain traits in the human nature that are just so damn deplorable. I can't believe how deplorable they are. And one of them is, I want to control your behavior. Simply as that. I want to control your behavior. Why the hell would I want to do that? Right? If you live within the mutual boundaries of responsibility to those in your community, man, you can snort coke, shoot heroin, dress up like Ellis Fitzgerald, and sing show tunes in your backyard. As long as you don't sing too loud, I ain't got a problem with it. Why would I? The drug war has to end. It has to end. I can't even believe we're not trying to ameliorate the effects of this ridiculous policies. My God, look what it's done to our police. Look what it's done to our police, this drug war. I don't watch much TV. I have more respect for my brain and time. But I've seen this policeman. They had this old black guy down in the, you can tell by the neighborhood, this wasn't Beverly Hills. And they were trying to force his mouth open with a stick. And they're yelling, spit it out, and they're gunning him down. I mean, this guy ain't got 5 cents to his name. He's living in a deplorable condition. The very fact that drug war is in his community is a horrible negative and a draw on his whole life experience. So when you find the guy, the best thing to do now is knock him to the ground, handcuff him, and pry his jaw open with a stick to get a little piece of cocaine, which you take and you put in evidence bag. Well, we got that. Yeah, well, we're all so much safer now. In the Constitution, it says I have the right to the pursuit of happiness. What was it? Pursuit of happiness. Maybe the pursuit of my happiness is smoking a joint, drinking a glass of wine in my backyard picnic. Okay, come to me with any logical rationale why that should not happen. We all like to say we're free in this country. Oh, free country, free. What are you free to do? You're free to do what the government tells you to do. That's what you're free to do. And I mean, like I said, when you have such a horrible idea, all the daughter cells, or whatever you want to call them, they're all horrible too. What was it? The synthetic drugs. Okay, Arnold Trebeck wrote some books decades ago, but they're still good today. When you make something illegal, you always increase the harm it does. One of those inconvenient facts. Prohibition, we went from a nation of beer drinkers to a nation of hard liquor drinkers, and we lost our eyesight because we drank that crap out of the bathtub and all that. So it always increases the harm to the person using it, and also increases the harm to the fabric of society, because now you don't care about the law. You've lost respect in the law. If the law all made sense to you, I'm sure the same guy that would bootleg a bottle of beer would never rob you, kill you, kidnap your kids, that kind of thing, right? So when you look at the ramifications of these things, how can anyone stand back and say, you know what? I agree with that. Right? Like synthetic drugs. Here's a whole industry that would not exist if you could access any drug that you wanted if you were a legal legal age. The whole industry of synthetic drugs. They might as well, don't, instead of calling that spice and posh and all that, they ought to call it guinea pig. Because that's what you are. You take that, people have died from taking that and had horrible. You think that anybody would buy that if they could go to a legitimate source and buy the drug they wanted? I can hear you right now, oh, everybody become a drug addict. I don't think so. See, sometimes the price of freedom is folly. And if I want to take a drug and I'm starting to have a problem with it, then I'm a patient. I go to a doctor and say, look, you know, I'm an idiot. I got hooked on this drug and help me work it out and that type of thing. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a criminal. See, when some fat cigar-sucking alcoholic up there in the Beltway starts legislating morality and making my personal behavior actionable under the law, that's a totalitarian puke. That's what that is. Don't tell me what drug I can take and what drug I cannot take. I should have been able to go to the pharmacy and say, boy, I'm in a lot of pain. It's about this level. What do you suggest? And the pharmacist said, well, maybe we'll give you a 5 milligram oxy or something of that nature. President Carter once said the penalty for using a drug should not surpass the damage the drug itself would inflict on you. I can't imagine at a younger age how this is happening, but now I do, because now I see that there's a tremendous amount of money to be made in persecuting and prosecuting people who are not a criminal. If you got to call a crime before you recognize it as one, probably not a crime, right? Like I said, what it's done to our police is just unbelievable. Guy leaves a drug area, cop pulls him over. What are you doing there? Who are you talking to? Well, wait a minute, is this a traffic stop or a criminal investigation? Because if it's the latter, I think I'd like, legal counsel here. It has perverted their sense of purpose. Your job is not to run my personal life. If I want to take DMT and Jimson weed, peyote and LSD and mescaline to open up my consciousness, I can't do that now because the penalties are just draconian. I mean, my God, catch you with some DMT, they'll lock you up with a bunch of killers. It's stupid, but it's worse than stupid. It perverts the very sense of self-autonomy and freedom of yourself. I checked into this. You can't sell your kidney. Did you know this? Sure, body, right? My kidney, my lung, my retinas. So if I'm dying of some disease and I want to put together a package for my wife, for she doesn't, suffer from loss of cash when I die, I can't do that. It's incredible. I couldn't put on eBay, I got about 6 months to live, but kidneys are good, blah, blah, blah. Get the bidding moving, right? Why not? Who owns my body? The state, the government. The government's telling me that. But if I sign a thing at the DMV, they'll whack me up like mob does a heist, throw them apart and make a whole bunch of money off of it. We have, in this country, gone so far afield of what makes sense, we have lost. It's almost like the toothpaste out of the tube. We have gone so insane, so psychotic with this stuff, that coming back to a rational evaluation of what you're trying to accomplish and what motivates it. Between human beings, there's got to be compassion. Like I say, I'm almost 120 years old over here, and I know that to be true now. Not anger, not condemnation. You're a sinner. You're a piece of crap. You weak drug addict. It's a human being. Okay, it's a human being. And another horrible aspect of the drug war is the de-incentivization of people in the inner city in certain areas to try to work, try to learn. Matter of fact, learning is looked down on in some communities, oddly enough. When you're a young person and you live in this impoverished area, like Bed-Stuy or, the Bronx or any of those places, and you say, who's got the car? Who's not worried about their rent? Who's helping their mother with the groceries? It's the drug dealer or the pimp. Okay, talking about lowlifes. And you go, well, once again, how many of us are suited for armed robbery, kidnapping, murder, and extortion? Not many. And plus, those are not even accepted, even in those communities. But not drug dealing. I'm gonna sell some weed, sell some pills. I got something to drive. I got something to eat. Right? It undermines the work ethic in such a fundamental way that you now have generational drug dealers. Their dads are drug dealers, and their sons are going to be drug dealers. This is madness. This reminds me of some insane religion that people are, oh yeah, that's what we need to do. You got dogs smelling everybody's rear end. You got 80,000 SWAT raids in this country. 80,000 SWAT raids. We're losing ground quick. Now, like I said, I'm going on 70 years of age in reality. How much longer will I going to be here? People say, you make a video like that, ain't going to do anything. Well, maybe not now. Okay? I've been told that once you put something on the internet, well, it's like throwing a golf ball in the ocean. You're never going to get it back. So maybe years from now, I say, well, that guy, he had a complaint. But I don't hear, all I hear is how to extend the drug war, how to make it more draconian, how to hurt more people, how to grind more drug addicts under the boot heel of a government without a heart. And everybody seems to be fine with that. Every day I see these ridiculous drug raids and dogs running through people's cars and cops out there making, oh, it's blue, it's cocaine. What do you give a shit? If it's cocaine or not. As it stands, every time you become a heroin addict, we could, buy you a Maserati and a beach house and send you to Yale after you got out of Betty Ford, and we would be billions ahead. In rem confiscation, federal forfeiture. How does people not object to being stopped on the highway and robbed by the police? They'll pull it. One guy had a horse trailer truck, and he was going to go buy a horse. Had $15,000 in an envelope. Cop pulls him over, so I got to confiscate that money. And he goes, well, how can I buy my horse without the money? He goes, well, no normal. I've actually seen a video of the cop saying this. Normal people don't carry $15,000. Oh, so you arbitrarily will evaluate the Constitution the way you want to see it. That's my property. You can't take my property without due process. Oh, yes, I can. It's federal forfeiture. I believe when I researched it years ago, in rem is Latin for the thing. Now, what I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, a teapot hit a guy in the head, killed him, and the people back in the 16th century, with their infinite wisdom, said that can't happen. That has to be an evil teapot. So we're going to actually try the teapot. And that extrapolated into an ox cart would run you over and hurt you or kill you. They'd actually put the ox on trial. We haven't got any further from that. So you have drugs in the car, and the car is now guilty. They're going to confiscate the car because the car is in possession of the drug. Whether you ever get adjudicated guilty or not, whether you get a true bill or not, your car is gone. Here's my point. When you start off with the absolute moronic prefaces, a moronic dialogue, I'm trying to find the word for it, it is so insane, so worthless, you got to be inoculated against the facts and how it hurts people. Think about this. Think of the small number of drug takers we're talking about that are really problematic. Here's what we're going to do. Our solution for that is eviscerate the Bill of Rights, forget the Constitution, be completely heartless to those people who are really, really down on their luck. We're going to fill the penitentiaries with nonviolent offenders. We're going to ruin people's possibility for any future because they're going to have a drug record, which, you know, and this urine testing that is being done, it's all draconian, it's all totalitarian, it's all Nazi to me, right? You have prisons now that are for profit. Now there's another wonderful aspect of the drug war. We actually have prisoners who are now part of the plantation slave penitentiary workforce. I go to jail on drugs, IBM pays me $1 a day to make their motherboards, everybody's happy. If we were to take half the amount that we use to search out airplanes, submarines, you know, like I said, it's extrapolating into an insane psychosis that people go, oh, yeah, that's a good way to do it. We need more submarines to stop them drug smugglers. No, you don't need a submarine, man. You need to meditate, open up your heart, and do the right thing by people. Mexico, talk to the Mexican man down there and his family. Hey, how you like the drug war? Well, the drug cartels literally run this part of Mexico. Thousands of us are being killed. We're afraid to leave the house. The villages are unsafe. The federal government is afraid of these people. And then look at all the narco-driven terrorist organizations around the world. We are going to arrest, we have 5% of the population of this world and 25% of its prisoners. I mean, what happens when we need to go to 50% before we notice? 60%? We have all the prisoners in the world. When does it stop? When do we pull back and say, boy, this is horrible. This has a negative sweep like a radar thing across this country that pings every second, arresting somebody every second. It also has led to a complete disrespect to the police. When to me, the police are absolutely necessary. Without them, I'd need a machine gun to go to Acme. That fine blue line always reminds me of that fine blue line of our atmosphere around the earth. He said if it was a basketball, cellophane, that's how thin it is. Take the cops away and see what happens. You know, put an ad in the paper, say 991 will be down for a week, good luck. But then on the other hand, when I see them wrestling people down, prying their jaws open, tasing them over drugs, I can't respect that. That's why I never became a policeman, okay? Now, if the policeman didn't care what you smoked or what you did, as long as you did not act in an unlawful way, then he would be returned to the true purpose of being a policeman. I would like to see these billions and billions of dollars in surveillance and dogs and all that bullshit used to catch the child molester. Yeah, let's have a damn task force on that. Rapists, people who beat up people, people who rob people, home invasions, sadists and sadists, and all these horrible people. But I don't give a shit if you're smoking a joint. I want the guy down the street that could actually kill me. Right? Oh, well, Joe, we knew he was in the neighborhood, but, lack the resources to really check that out. We got to make sure no one smokes a joint. Do you hear me? So, the years I still have left to live, I'm going to do whatever I can to promote the idea that we call it quits. I would have never started the drug war to begin with, because I know it would just make everything worse. Now, the people who believe that if drugs are legally acceptable, so what? I'm a free person. I'm a free man. If I want to take a drug, let me take it. If taking that drug leads me into irresponsible actions that are unlawful or actionable under the law, then arrest me. But don't arrest me because I went down. Could you imagine you could go down, you don't feel too well, and you go, hey, I got the flu. How about some chlorothamycin? Or, you got something, what you suggest. It's not a big deal. It's just a drug. When I see the term drug enforcement agency, I think, how ridiculous is that? You're enforcing a drug? Why? What are you so afraid of? You're afraid of everybody in the world's going to become a heroin addict? Right now, I got to believe if you want drugs, you can find them. I proved it myself. The first time I ever went out looking for a drug, guess what? Boom, I found it. I found it. The people who are going to take drugs are going to take drugs, right? If the drug war worked, nobody would be taking drugs at this point. Here's what we have to come to grips with. That what we've done so far doesn't work, magnifies the detrimental effect on the human race by 1,000 times compared to using the drug itself. Compared to the ramifications of the law and the drug war on the whole world, whatever that drug, digesting that drug is, whatever negative effect that is minuscule. It's a photon compared to that landscape. So what I'm going to try to do is, over the next few months, find people who are maybe more knowledgeable about this than me. I'm sure I'll never be monetized, that's for sure. But someone has got to talk about the innocent victims of the drug war. It has to be, you hear sometimes on the periphery, but it's almost like the third rail. It's almost like if you're trying to talk about Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030, sustainable development, the Trilateral Commission, you get in all that. It's like there's a third rail in the media. You don't even say it. You don't even bring it up. I haven't heard anybody on the news say, when are we going to stop this drug war? When are we going to understand that what was started in 1930 based in racism and lunacy and complete lack of intelligence has done for us? Do we really want to continue this decade after decade? If we made drugs legal, the people in Mexico would have a party, they'd have a fiesta, like you've never seen, because all of a sudden their worst enemy, the narco-terrorists, the narco-drug cartels, had just got defunded. They don't make no more money. They ain't got no more power. I can't believe, that I'm the smartest guy in the world. I ain't the dumbest. But why don't the majority of us see that these big governments and their insane policies are not for the good of the people? It's for the good, I guess, of the penitentiary people, the people who build the penitentiaries, you know what I'm saying, the food service, all that. Locking people up has become a capitalistic endeavor. So this channel is going to be about bringing people to YouTube, that we can discuss some of these things. Your comments are definitely welcome. But the bottom line is this. The only way to deal with a human being who's under disability is with heart and love and compassion, period. And I say that like I'm a rough and tumble guy. But that's true. So if someone's got a heroin problem, I don't want to beat him up. I don't want to tase him. I don't want to lock him up, deprive his family of their father and husband. I don't want to take that man who's having a horrible time in his life and lock him up with a bunch of killers and car thieves and wife beaters, Where's the compassion in that? That's hateful. That's spiteful. That's just like, well, man, you're not living up to my moral expectations, so you know, I'm going to do the right thing and just make your life even more of a hell. Make it even more difficult for you to deal with the situation you're in. Until we start treating ourselves like that, there's no hope. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Just say to yourself, 80,000 SWAT raids. What country am I living in? Okay, well, thanks for watching. I'll be posting, and the next video I'll be posting will be about suicide. There's something I've noticed about that I don't hear much about. But anyway, it's that time of year. Merry Christmas. Hope you have a wonderful holidays. And start spreading the word that maybe you going to tell your friends, maybe we ought to do something to stop this madness before, well, if it's not too late already. I have a fear that it's too late already, that it's like trying to overthrow Christianity. You know, once it becomes a religious or an ideology type of thing, it's just impervious to logic and rationale. But anyway, ho, ho, ho. Talk to you later.